He's Peter Billingsley, actor, director, producer, executive producer of Undeniable with Dan Patrick. So obviously he's used to working with great talent. AT&T original on DirecTV, The Audience, and producer, Iron Man. He's done a lot of different things. Longtime actor, good friends with Vince Vaughn. And of course, Ralphie from A Christmas Story. And Peter, who just loves talking about Ralphie from A Christmas Story, I'm going to guess. Right, Pete?
Absolutely. Good morning, Dan.
How often do you hear something about A Christmas Story?
I hear it multiple times a year, especially around this time. It's crazy. It's like the movie that, when it came out, not to a lot of fanfare, was sort of a medium hit and then kind of went away. And this was back in '83. And I think because of the boom of cable and video, it just started growing every year. And then started working its way up these lists of all-time favorites and then got in top fives. And it still seems as relevant today as it did then.
Do you remember the premiere? Did you go to a premiere?
Yeah, well, it was more kind of regional back then. So it didn't have the kind of big Hollywood fanfare that it did. But the Academy of Motion Pictures just did a screening. It's the 35th anniversary. And I just saw it in a theater with like 700 people. On a 35-millimeter print, and it was awesome. And you got to see it with a crowd and hear where all the laughs were, and it gave me a newfound appreciation for the movie.
If I would have told you 35 years ago, hey, you know what? They're going to be playing that forever. It'll be one of the more popular movies, Christmas movies of all time. What would you have said?
No way in hell would that happen. This was an odd little movie. It took them 12 years to get it made.
Oh, wow.
It was based on an anthology of short stories. Bob Clark, who directed the movie, took him 12 years. He had done some horror films. In fact, the first day that I got there, he was excited. He said, I just finished my last film. I'm doing a screening tonight. Would love you to come see it. Went to watch it. It was Porky's 2. So not exactly the kind of family fare that would catapult this film to greatness. But it was a really interesting example, Dan. It was like, I sort of describe it as the lunch pail movie, like people just taking their lunch pail to work and working hard. I'd been on a lot of big budget movies that did not do well, where there was all the hype and, oh, kid, this is going to make you a star. And this one, like, they were so well prepared and they just got it. And it was a refreshing experience. It was challenging. We shot it in Cleveland and in Canada. We shot in the cold in the winter in January outside. But it was a very different experience than I had ever had, and it was probably a pretty good lesson learned early for me.
Did you save anything from that movie?
Well, my mom always kept memorabilia from all the things I did with no hope that, they would have any value or anything. But I actually have the bunny suit. I have the cowboy outfit, and I have the original gun, which is crazy.
Oh, that's great. You got the Red Rifle BB gun.
I've got the gun, and I have the pink suit.
Oh. What do you think that gun is worth?
So good.
What do you think that gun's worth?
I don't know. It's kept in a humidity-controlled safe, I can tell you that, off-site.
Okay.
So we do perceive a value on it.
The bunny outfit.
Yeah.
It looks painful. Like, you play the role brilliantly. Are you really in pain? Are you, like, just sad? Like, you're any kind of masculinity is taken away from you, even at that age. How old were you at the time?
Not a lot of acting required in that moment, for sure. Embarrassing on the set. I'll tell you the worst one, though, is a scene that was cut out of the movie. There was another fantasy sequence that was a big space deal. We were up on the moon, and Flash Gordon was pinned down by Ming the Merciless, and I got the call, Ralphie did, to come save him, in my own mind, of course. And I show up there, and the wardrobe lady had designed these teeny, shiny silver, like, panties for me to wear. And I was outraged and so self-conscious. And probably my performance in that scene is why it's not in the movie.
How old were you at the time?
12.
Oh, okay. So right on the
12, looking and playing younger.
Yeah. Well, you did well. And we were wondering what we would want out of that. Where's the pole that Flick put his tongue on? Did anybody ever take that pole?
No, that was just, you know what it was? It was basically the way you would have designed it in your mind if you were forced to do it. It was It wasn't metal. It was sort of a piece of plastic, and it had a teeny tiny hole that sucked air. And the camera was just at an angle that you couldn't see it. So they had just wrapped that over an actual flagpole, and that was it.
Hold on. This is breaking news. This is breaking news we've been wondering for years now.
There you go.
Man.
Movie magic, special effects, broken down.
Yeah. What was your favorite story from that from the movie set?
I think probably just, in many ways, how much fun we had. We shot it in January. Cleveland kept the decorations up in downtown. So it was sort of a continuation of Christmas in that the slide, which they had in a big Santa sequence. We were in that Higbee store for a couple of days, and when they would call lunch, none of us would eat. The kids, we would just go down that thing, forwards, backwards, just keep going, keep going. They're like, back to makeup, let's go. We just didn't want to get off it. It was an awful lot of fun and a tremendous experience. Was
Nicholson up to play your dad? Was that a true story?
Yeah, that's what Bob had said. I think Bob Clark, the director, had said that I think was his first choice. And had talked to Jack about doing it. But, it's hard to not see Darren in that role now, and Darren did such an amazing job.
I can't see Jack. Like, Jack would have been too big for the role, I think.
Yeah, or too, I guess, but, this dad was kind of scary, too. That's one of the things I think that, one of the reasons it sort of endures a timelessness. It's a movie that takes place probably in 1940, but it feels relevant today because it's a very real family. It is sort of a tough dad. It's a very loving mom. There's a lot of love in that household, but there's not a lot of money. They're working hard. They're struggling. There's a lot of hopes and dreams. But I think at the end of the day, there is a lot of love there, and that's definitely what he got right.
When's the last time you were flipping through the channels, and all of a sudden there you are, and then what do you do?
In that movie,
yeah.
It winds up at our house Christmas as well. It's just, we kind of put it on in the background. I don't personally, but somebody in the house winds up putting it on and flipping through.
Yeah, but your kids are young, though. They don't really know who Ralphie is, do they?
Not yet, no. I think it's going to be an awakening for them, though. But I'm going to let them find it on their own, slowly. But for some reason, it's sort of become a tradition. We have a big family and, go see my parents and lots of nieces and nephews, and it invariably winds up on in the house, which is sort of a fun thing. So now it almost doesn't feel like Christmas if it's not on.
But how aware are you of your movie immortality?
I don't know. I don't really think about it that way. It's maybe it's different when you're in it. A lot of people have said, I think that I know that have sort of an iconic role sometimes try to run from it or don't want to talk about it. I don't do, obviously, a lot of press. I was excited to come share it with you because, we're working together and so forth. But it brings a lot of people a lot of joy. And so that's, why would you want to run from that? And people are very genuine when they approach me and say hi. So, it's a great film. It's something that people like. And so I certainly don't mind talking about it.
Do you get royalties?
No, that's sort of the bummer about it. Maybe that's why, Dan, my perspective is shifting. It's like you got to find the joy in it.
Exactly.
It's not financial.
There'd be far more joy.
Financial.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly right.
You would take
I'm just finding the silver linings here.
You take the leg lamp royalties, I think.
Absolutely. No, my gosh. I mean, to think that there's merchandising off this movie, which is nuts. You would not think for this little kind of character comedy about a kid that wants a BB gun. There would actually be this sort of stuff from it.
Peter and I have been working together on Undeniable. It's the interview show that Joe Buck did for years. And Peter's the brains behind it. And, you have a director's eye. Like you produce, but you have a director's eye. And then I know that you've done producing and directing Iron Man. You've been involved in a lot of other things. But I appreciate your eye behind the camera when I'm doing these interviews. And I did, the full disclosure, Tony Stewart is one of our guests. And Tony, we were trying to get him to lighten up and relax and have a little bit of fun. And he wasn't. And so I said, Peter came over to say hello to Tony, and I go, and then Peter left, and I go, he's Ralphie in A Christmas Story. And Tony goes, are you kidding me? His mood changed.
See, it's a good icebreaker.
Yes.
That we find the...
And he goes, that guy? I said, yeah. He goes, are you serious? I said, yeah, that's Ralphie. And he goes, I got to get a picture there. So I did use it, but, I wasn't planning on it.
Use it whenever you want to. It is yours. I trust you with it.
The best guest that we have on Undeniable, the interviews start in January. So your favorite interview of the 10 that we did is who?
Well, first off, Dan, you did a great job, and I think your fans are going to love seeing this. And we are excited to bring this back. Probably my favorite guest was Greg Norman this year.
That surprises me. Not that he wasn't a great interview. I thought that you had other guests that maybe were, Cheryl Miller was emotional. Ray Lewis.
Yep.
Ray Lewis told the story.
Incredible story. Yep.
Yeah, he told the whole story about that night in Atlanta. Like, he did.
Freddie Roach has a story that I'm not going to give away, but is an absolute must-watch for audiences. This seemingly sweet, mild-mannered man who is so talented.
Yeah.
Has quite a past. But I'll tell you about Greg. One of the great things about the show, my business partner is Vince Vaughn, and this was his idea for this show, is that you get this sort of incredible emotional journey of these athletes, but you can also extract a lot of life advice along the way. And these are guys who have succeeded at the top of the game. And Greg Norman has gone on to was such a great golfer, but is such an incredible businessman. Seemingly everything he gets involved with is incredibly successful. And so I found a lot of his approaches inspiring, and things. And there was one that his old coach had said, do it now, do it proper, din and dip, is something that stays with me. So I find sometimes in working on these and then being able to watch the cuts as a fan that I can draw a lot from them.
And there's a moment where I'm showing all of this heartbreak with Greg Norman. And it felt like, and here's another clip where you lose in dramatic fashion. And here's one more, Greg. And then I caught myself at one point. I just said, and I can't do it. I can't do it. And he goes, show it. And I go, okay, here's Greg losing in heartbreaking fashion again.
Here's Larry Mize chipping in.
Yes.
Here we go.
But he stood in with every one of, and that's the thing, there's sensitive topics. Obviously with Ray Lewis, we had not heard what I thought was his opportunity in full to explain what happened.
That's right.
Spending time in jail, like his career's in doubt, and he said, I appreciate you letting me have the time to tell my story. And he did. I thought Tony Stewart, on the night that a fellow driver was killed on a short track, he told his story. He told us, and that's where it's powerful.
You're exactly right. It is, and it's one of the things I think that is sometimes missing from sports culture is the long form. The truly long form. There's just a mandate to get so much into a short period of time where it's just a post-press conference or it's a post-game soundbite in the locker room. This show allows them the platform to give a 10 or 12-minute answer, and we will put that on television because it's a chance for them to create the narrative and for them to frame it. So I think they appreciate it. They appreciate the opportunity as much as we enjoy doing it.
It was well done, and I look forward to rolling out the season 6 of Undeniable will be in January. I believe Ray Lewis is the first interview that we have.
That's exactly right. We will be announcing the date shortly, but it's coming up in January with Ray, and we have a lot of great episodes coming up. And again, Dan, you did a great job.
Could you bring the BB gun the next time we're in Los Angeles?
To where? You mean just down to set quietly and show you?
Yeah, just come on the set and we... Could you bring?
We just open the box. We take a peek.
Yeah, but could you bring some of the memorabilia for A Christmas Story? We won't touch.
I can bring the gun down for you, yes, because that's easily to transport.
Okay. All right.
Oh, we got one. All right.
Breaking news. By the way, if you want me to put out this entire clip of all the questions of A Christmas Story and then just say, you know what, Peter is not going to answer any more questions for references for A Christmas Story, just go to this.
I think we just turned to the Dan Patrick Show,
yes.
And I think we've pretty much covered it all, right?
Yes. I'll be in touch. Peter, thank you for being a good sport.
Thank you, buddy.
All right. Peter Billingsley, actor, director, producer, and I'm working with him on Undeniable.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.